Gentle persons, welcome back to Divas, Diamonds, and Dollars podcast. We empower smart women with the tools and strategies for living a bolder, fuller life. Each week, we give you the key success principles on leadership, business, and personal finance to help you get more life in your lifestyle. Follow us to get ahead and succeed at a higher level. Gentle persons, we are your hosts, Larisa Troche and
I am Cecilia Benford. And so, with that, let's get started. So, we thought we would close out this month with continuing to talk about trends. So, all month has been trend series. This one's going to be gratitude trends. Now, who would have thunk it? So, there's always something new, and of course, something old. But what we're finding is that you know, some people are finding it hard to be grateful today. And understandably so, given all the life lessons we're learning today. I was talking to my daughter about this. Why? And really, ultimately, it comes down to we're exposed to a lot through the media, whether it's on our phones or TV. But uh, New York Times has opinion pieces, and other places, things do too. But could it be that maybe some have just not been creatively or thoughtfully looking at many reasons to be grateful, or just different ways to personally track or express their gratitude?
I will just say that when people gather together, right, for Thanksgiving, and then it's like, well, let's just go around the table and say what we're grateful for. And I've already said this to you, Cecilia. I just feel like that's private. And maybe what we're talking about is today, ways to privately express your gratitude, which, if you don't mind sharing with the world and all and sundry, please feel free to do so. I'm just saying, personally, I
Hmm.
think it's a private conversation to have.
I'm
But
gonna come back to that.
I,
Yeah, I'll come back to
Well,
that.
I mean, there are
I
different
mean,
parts
you
of
made
it,
me think
and
about it, but I mean, no, that's just something you made me think about. Okay.
yeah, I will say I am learning to be better about saying thank you at work. How about that?
Mhm.
And I do want people to know when I appreciate something that they've done. To me, that's, I do express. Oh, maybe is that tomato? Appreciation, gratitude, right? Thank
Yeah.
you for being you. You are such a keeper. Anywho, there are several ways to discover and record your personal gratitude trend. And I admit I hadn't thought about it being a trend, but I do. Well, we'll talk about it later. But I do remind myself, girl, it's so, especially on those days. So before we offer you some five options, if you will, that you can choose from in terms of expressing your personal gratitude, maybe start by identifying your own patterns when you consider these following questions. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Don't let it feel like this is a test. We just want you to get you thinking about the process. Okay, so when do you naturally feel grateful? Do you find yourself feeling most grateful first thing in the morning, in the evening, random times during the day? When does it pop into your head? And I will say I do try and start my day expressing my thanks or being grateful, right? It's my morning vespers. So I guess I'm a morning grateful person. Morning
Mhm.
grateful person. I didn't say we're going
Mhm.
to do good, great grammar now. So you just need to work with me. So are you more drawn to expressing gratitude privately? I think I just said that. Maybe by journals or relationally telling people. I'm more introverted, more introspective. So my for Larissa, not saying for you, I am more inclined to write it down, journaling. Journaling. Hmm. Yes, you do get new vocabulary on Divas, Diamonds, and Dollars. What do you tend to appreciate most? Is it people, experiences, small comforts, or spiritual aspects? So much to be grateful for. What are you leaning toward? Do you notice gratitude more when things go well or when challenges highlight what you value? And again, with the oversharing, let's agree that I have to remind myself when I'm in the thick of it to breathe and slow down and remember all the good things. Because sometimes this has been a week of sometimes, and it's a short week, let me tell you. So sometimes
Mm.
I do have to pause for the cause and say, now, Larisa, yes, your hair is on fire. However, you have all these other things that you can appreciate. So let's just breathe and appreciate it so you can carry on. That's my story.
So it sounds like, my dear, for a week such as one you described, maybe micro gratitudes might work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as we're talking about this, maybe one works at one time and something
Mm-hmm.
works at a different time, right? So, I think that a lot of people are shifting from long gratitude journals to small, quick acknowledgments. Remembering one good thing from today, I think is helpful because sometimes you can just go through a day and you're like, okay, what happened today? What was the one good thing that happened? I mean, if you don't really stop and think about that, you just might miss it, right? Or even a 10-second voice note. Start your own, just like I said, 10 seconds and say something, right? You can record yourself even, right? How about just a gratitude text per day? One gratitude text per day. Send it to somebody. Maybe 10 people were clowns, but one person wasn't. I actually got a beautiful response today, a text that, as it turned out, and I mean, it really touched me. I asked a young lady who had just recently lost her mother, and she had been a caregiver for her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a brother. I don't know that they are in the same town, but she's a younger person, and I know she's, going through whatever, something. But anyway, I asked her about if she had, what she was going to do for Thanksgiving, if she was going to have dinner. And she told me how much that touched her and so forth and so forth. And then for her, she then, said, "This is what I hope for you." So I think that's just one example of what one might do if they're thinking about something, just send out a text, right? So these little small actions really are things you can do to, this micro gratitude practice is more sustainable, I think, than others, perhaps.
Well, I will admit that, for example, when you mentioned one gratitude text per day, I I guess there are two sides of that. Is like, are you texting yourself to remind yourself, or are you texting someone else to express your gratitude for them or something they did? And either, I mean, any and all of it works, but at the same time, when you send someone that text, whether you actually are saying the words, I mean, people do appreciate being thought about. And
Hmm.
so just being remembered, right, raises encourages one to express their gratitude. Actually, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? So
Yes.
anyway, and I wonder if we're going to talk about this question that I have. Let's see what I have here. Making notes, Cecilia. Ask me later. So anyway, I think this also applies. What's it called? Gratitude as a mood regulating tool.
Hmm.
So yes, is what I really want to get out. I think that is so necessary. So anyway, you may be surprised to learn, if you will, that more people are using gratitude in ways that help them mentally and physically. And sometimes when you're in that spiral, right, I think it's important that you use gratitude to interrupt stress spirals when you're having a day.
Hmm.
Hi, how are you? Right? So stop, pause, and appreciate. I feel like that does kind of help rein it in, and at least it helps you slow down.
Hmm.
And that's mostly what we need to do. Could you take a pause for the cause? But it makes you slow down and kind of regulate your breathing when really you could say something you might regret.
Hmm.
Or If you're at work, you might say something that might get you in trouble. So really stop, pause, and appreciate. And frankly, as part of your morning routine, I call them morning vespers. That's what the nuns do. I'm no nun, people. But start your day on the right note to help deflect what comes next, especially if you're in the trenches. You know there's going to be a next. So
Mm,
if you start your morning off in the right mindset, honestly, gratitude is a mindset. Um, if you're in a high stress career, you have got to get your day started off properly so that you can deal. And again, gratitude, I've heard about what's that called? Meditating walks, but you can pair your gratitude with breathing or short walks. I 200% like to go for a walk when I'm about to lose it. So,
Yes, yes, yes. In fact, when you said that earlier, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
yeah, so, you don't necessarily always connect the dots between how gratitude can help you regulate your mental wellness. Don't necessarily think about regulating your physical wellness, but the I think what is that? There's a heart mind connection.
Hmm.
So yes, Dr. Risa suggests that expressing your gratitude can help you with both. So anywho, I feel like it's becoming more of a mental health micro habit than a big emotional practice. So I just took a breath. I took a breath for you. Okay. So let's think about how we can really use our gratitude expressions to help us feel better.
Well, so that brings us to the third one, relationship-centered gratitude. So, true confession that in a way that what I'm going to say probably won't work for everybody. That's why you have choices. But I have more time to do that this morning or the mornings because I get to make my own schedule. Now, when I couldn't make my own schedule, I could have done it before, but time is more compressed. I was trying to get out of the house, trying to remember all the things I needed to remember. So maybe this wouldn't work, although it could have, but I didn't think about this as I think of it today. So that's really the second part of this. And what I'm talking about is a powerful one that may help people move from solitude to connections. Today, I realize how much people are suffering from solitude. It's still a hangover from COVID. And even now that we're out in the open and we have choices, but people aren't necessarily out there. I remember sitting at a new group, and people were going around talking about what they do. And I remember thinking how many people say, "Oh, I just sit in my chair and watch TV all day." And I'm
Mm,
thinking, "Oh, okay."
mm, mm,
So, and really, I mean, just yesterday, I was looking, trying to find something on TV, like in the evening. And I remember thinking, we have all these channels, but there is really nothing, at
There's
least,
nothing on TV.
I mean, nothing. So, let's think about that, right? So let's go back to relationships, right? So, instead of writing a list, hey, you have to work at this, though, I will tell you, reaching out to people directly, sending a gratitude ping by text. Who can you text today? So I do think about who I can text. And not to necessarily, I don't have a specific thing I want to say, but something, right? And so we are talking gratitude, but I will tell you the more you do it, it will it will be brought to your mind, first of all. And secondly, you'll get creative in that. Um, if it flexes your muscle memory and thoughts or heart, I guess, whatever you want to say. You can leave short appreciation notes. Yeah, I know people don't write very much today, very little, but I love my little packets of notes, and I kind of miss giving out packets of notes or whether they're stickies or whatever. I like little notes. And so I liked writing appreciation notes. So it was as much for the person and, made me feel good. So it's like a two-way warmth when you do send a no reason thank you note. You're not, you don't want anything back or anything. So then another one might be just being more vocal in friend and family groups. That takes work, that takes practice. It doesn't just happen, especially if you're, well, you know what? I think it could happen whether you're introvert or extrovert. Sometimes we kind of lean too much on those two words, but even an extrovert, if you're not prone to thinking that way, you're not necessarily going to do this either, right? So I don't want to put anybody in any camp here. But basically, I think these are boosts, these boost connections. It's not just a mindset. It doesn't just stay here, it goes forward. That was what I would round this out with.
Before you leave that thought, I'm I Larisa, I like stationery and I like writing little. Remember how when we were younger, I can't remember the frequency. I know, for example, when the grandparents would send us a birthday money, it was like, okay, write that thank you. You have to write them a letter, right? Do you remember that conversation where we were told to write letters to our grandparents?
Oh yeah.
Right? And so I like writing letters, and I just like, well, I don't know who to write my letters to, but I will say in terms, I also like it's just sending thank you cards.
Hmm.
Um, I but whatever the I will call it an excuse, right? Most people don't write, and so I'm like a party of one, and so I do let my self-consciousness keep me from doing that. But the recipient is just so darn appreciative, and I love writing thank you cards. It makes me feel good too. For example, so last year I met someone new in the work realm, lest you get excited, Cecilia. And I sent her a Christmas card, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, people don't do this. Thank you so much." She was just so effusive in her thanks for a simple Christmas card. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So you don't know how much your thoughts mean to someone else. So I will just encourage you to go ahead and be a party of one if that's what it takes, but to
Yes,
get into the habit of writing because the recipient is just ever grateful because it just does not happen.
that's right.
And the other thing I wanted to point out, and I was kind of looking around because I don't have it handy, but I wandered into this store called Uniqlo. Do you have that in your area, Cecilia?
Not that I know of.
So it is just I'm gonna put two odd words together, but it is a Japanese knickknack store.
Mm,
And when I say knickknack, it's just a bunch of little helpful things. You're like, oh my gosh, that is so clever. I never thought about it. Girl, you could do some damage in there because
mm,
it's not it is they do look like knickknacks because it's not necessarily a small space, but it's just got a lot of creative things. There we go.
mhm,
And one of the things they have are these little note cards, and they're just maybe whatever that is. Is that 2 inches by maybe 3 inches?
mhm,
And so I bought two sets because I could have bought a bunch, but I said, okay, let's hold on, Risa. So I bought two sets. Like, and I was thinking, like, when you are staying in a hotel and you leave your tip, right? Write a note of thanks or appreciation or whatever, or, for a staff member, and so first of all, I put the one for the tip, I put them in my suitcase so I can leave a note when I
But
leave
I
the
was
tip.
just thinking, because I leave notes, but I never thought about what you just said. And I was thinking, oh yes, I'm gonna take the little note cards with me.
Yeah, and they're just the
Oh,
right size because you don't have to write a chapter and book. Just say
no,
thank you for
no,
and
right.
use their name. So anyway, yeah. So if you're driving by, pull on over to Uniqlo, Uniqlo. I don't know. It is a Japanese store. I don't know where that name came from, but there are a lot of unique items in there, and that was just one thing. Uh, I, oh, I, never mind. I went in there for a specific item, which I did find, but they have a little stationery section with so many cute note cards. And period. Please carry on. But I wanted to mention that.
No, I love it. If I ever see one, I will be sure to stop in one. I could just kind of get lost in one of those areas myself. So, all right, so let's move on to visual gratitude. Okay, what are we flexing here? What muscle or where are we talking about? So, this is there's always a new social trend today. Somebody's got to put something out there for everybody to try. So consider the rise in photo gratitude albums. Now, just having recently completed some albums, that's a lot of work. You sort of have to have your mindset, but if you're that person, hey, that's great. I can see this situation. I can visualize it actually, but you have to be thinking about doing something like that, right? What about screenshots of moments you appreciated? Hey, I think that's in the Uniqlo department, right? I think that's cool. And then, gratitude reels, of course. I mean, I think in the visual gratitude area, wow, you're really being creative, you're taking initiative, you are feeling the power of gratitude if you're doing something like this. So why not? But weekend highlight photos, wow, wouldn't people be better off if they just didn't go to the very next event that they really stopped and appreciated?
Mhm.
Hey, you just came from one. Why not take this one and do something with it so that, you sort of pile up your gratitude memories. So I think these do appeal to visual thinkers who don't love journaling.
Well, as you were saying that, you know, the whole thing, it was an evocative of dream boards. We create dream boards of what we aspire to achieve in our lives, and I'm thinking similarly, it may be just as powerful to create a gratitude board. When you have visual reminders of all the things that make your life beautiful, right? I think that would be kind of I think oh, idea. Did you see that light bulb? I think that might be a really nice thing to do for yourself, first of all. Just think of, first of all, how good you're going to feel while you're compiling it. But then when you
Hmm.
finish creating it and you post it visually, I'm thinking that might be a really awesome piece of artwork, if you will, in your home or your office. I suppose that's where you spend all your time. But yeah, think about a gratitude board too. I think the two of those go hand in hand. What do you think?
I think so too. And I know both of our minds are racing in this area. So yeah, yeah, sounds really good.
And we're going to wrap up with numero cinco. The fifth trend that you might want to consider is retrospective gratitude. And that's gratitude mixed with reflection. And I swear, we're just always on the go. But
Hmm.
sometimes you do need to stop and reflect, right? Some people are reviewing, for example, the best moments of the week. I'm telling you, yes, in the midst of all the chaos, there are
Hmm.
things that you can pull out and be thankful for. It wasn't all bad.
Right.
It wasn't all bad. And I'm saying that for Larisa. It wasn't all bad.
Well,
So,
and if I can just interject this, thinking about that, when you do that,
mhm.
you will probably laugh at something that
Oh, please,
occurred
yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't think of at the time you were going through it, you weren't
Mm-hmm.
laughing. But when you
Mm-mm.
look back at stuff, you have to laugh.
Yeah, I do have a fairly what's it called? Decent sense of humor. So if without you need that humor at work. So between the humor and the gratitude, yes, those will help carry you through, right? So think about you did have some good moments. Betwixt and between, you did. So don't forget those. Just call them up. Even you have to slow down, pause for the cause, and like, what was, and then have a good belly laugh and be thankful. And certainly go about and this is throughout the year. Please don't let this think. Should have said that in the beginning. These are not just for Thanksgiving. These are all the year through. You are a busy chica, so really take any one of or multiples of these five ideas, right? And remember the wins that may have gone unnoticed. You were checking boxes, you were flying high, and you were busy. So make sure that you acknowledge the things that you did accomplish. You got some wins in there.
Right.
And oh, this is my current state of mind. Things you handled better than before. Larisa has been growing up quite a lot this last year and change. And people make you grow. You see those big eyes? You know why you're growing? Because you're going through it. And don't just go through it. I already said this before, grow through it. And that was a quote from someone else, but it was a good reminder. Don't just go through it, grow through it. So I am definitely frequently reminding myself that when I have handled something better and when I can literally, you're having this conversation, it may or may not be going well, but there are some things that have come up. And then when you can sit back, I literally sit back and there is a breath in there. And then I will respond in my new mature voice. And I find that so empowering. And I am frankly proud of myself. So
Mhm.
remind yourself or just be aware of how you handle things differently. That is definitely something to be grateful for.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is sort of a segue into something you said earlier today as we're closing out. Yes, you know, I have you have an action and what I'm going to lead with, you said something
Mm,
about sharing our
mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving and gratitude is often personal. Well, you just shared very eloquently, very eloquently. We just shared, and sometimes I think we just should do it
Mm,
because I believe that sharing helps others. I believe it helps them get out of their comfort zone. I see your finger. I just want to say that. And well, for sure, I can just put a semicolon there. So, what do you want to say to that?
no, I should have asked you this question before, and I don't necessarily know that it goes with this episode, but we were having our company, our office potluck.
Hmm.
And people just making polite conversations. So, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And I answered the question because if someone asks me a question, I'm going to answer the question. But I wish I had been more thoughtful in my response because you talked up number three on relationship centered gratitude. But sometimes when you're a party of one and people ask, what are you doing for the holidays? That's a tough question to answer, which doesn't sound like so you
Absolutely.
don't come off sounding like a Debbie Downer.
Hmm.
So anyway, that was really it. But this isn't necessarily a Q&A, but I think that that's a valid question that comes up and, something to work on for Larissa. That was all. I just wanted to mention it
No, I
earlier.
think that's true, but I also think it is a reflection, retrospective question. It can be. It's going to be different for everybody also. And but yeah, I'm not sure if that's really a great question to ask in a group gathering, though, for the very reason that
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
people are alone. I don't, it's not one I would do. I definitely wouldn't do that.
Mm.
But if it comes up, you just kind of, and you know what? You can turn that question to a funny, actually.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you have to kind of be that person. So with, first of all, it is Thanksgiving, and we did start off by saying, a lot of people are not feeling it. If nothing else, I'm telling you, it's very expensive. I could not believe what turkeys cost. I'm like, oh
I
my
saw a
God.
price tag on the news and it said $84. I said, who's eating that $84
I'm
turkey?
telling you,
It is not
I've seen
delicious
them.
just for the price.
I've seen them. I looked at a lot of turkeys. So, um, you know, turkeys, and then okay, turkey breast, Cornish hen, just like you throw up your hand. I went to the store yesterday, I was looking for something specific in this area, but I'm like, well, they got a lot of turkeys they're gonna have to sell, so they're gonna have to drop some prices here.
Mm, mm,
And so, but if you can help, and I'm sort of the pusher in the family, the what is it, immediate family. They could probably, I could see somebody rolling their eyes. What we gotta do what? Because we're gonna stand and you're gonna share something you're thankful for
oh,
or grateful for before you eat. And it's
um,
like, okay. Well, by now everybody knows. Oh, we know. Well, you know what you gotta do. So, I think that, you can choose one of these options to build upon, but the other one where we talk about something a little private, I teach a women's class on Sunday, and I've been kind of pushing the envelope a little bit in that I'm looking at a room full of women. I know you're all grateful. I know you're all thankful. However, it's our job to share that with somebody. It's our job to go and build people up. So how do we build people up? Is by sharing what we've gone through, what we're grateful for, and how that's changed you. And so that was sort of my lead in. And and I said, don't be generic because we all got the same general story, because your story has to be very specific.
mm,
And, you may be sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? But even when I thought of that, I had to think about it myself because I'm like, well, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but what do I want to share, right? So I just want to throw that out that what Larissa and I have talked about, it makes you think. It makes you think. We just tend to go headlong through life some days, but if you stop and think, maybe you can put more thought on what you're grateful for. I- And I have to say, having had an accident almost 3 months ago, and now I can do more things, but it hasn't been easy. But I could have been down all the time, but my thing was to power through it, to, work through, what I needed to, um, and to be grateful that I could do that instead of laying at the, anyway, don't want to be gory here, but you get the point. You get the point. That's life. Our journey of life it is going to be something. So we need to find things that we're grateful for. So whether it's a personal gratitude signature, if that's your natural style, go for it, write a note, whether it's note to self or to somebody else. I mean, like Larissa and I both communicate, we share the love of writing notes. We could just, have our own little store, I'm sure. Or a custom gratitude practice based on your habits, your personality, and goals. Everybody's different. So be different, be unique, glow, is it? And then, or a weekly gratitude trend tracker that you can actually stick with. Of course, those are a little harder, but if that's what you want to do, you can do it.
Well, I think that this has been a lively conversation on things that actually you don't think about. Again, we do recognize the holiday, and I hope it makes most people think about what they're grateful for. But it is also helpful, don't get yourself in a bind. There are so many different ways to say what you feel. Um, and hopefully some of these ideas resonate with you. So let us just talk about, do you know the year is coming to a close, gentle persons? And let's just agree that it flew by. And so next month we're in a new month. What are we
Mm.
going to talk about? Well, I get to
Mhm.
tell you that it's going to be a short month. How about that? Because we will be taking off for our annual holiday break. So we're going to take a few weeks off to celebrate the Christmas season and regroup and ramp up for the new year. Already got some ideas, folks. So we will have our traditional year in review of our favorites and then a sneak preview of upcoming episodes. So what I will leave you with is happy holidays, divas. Cheers.